One of the first restructuring processes Dr. Ibe Kachiko embraced as Minister of State for Petroleum was to reduce the number of directorates in the NNPC from 8 to 4, and later in 2016, in March 2016, he increased the directorates from 4 to 7. Now, the NNPC group comprises of the NNPC board, the Group Managing Director's Office, 4 autonomous business units, namely upstream, gas and power, refineries, and downstream. Other units are the Finance and Accounts Unit, the Corporate Services Unit, and the Ventures Unit. Each of these units is headed by a Chief Operating Officer and Group Executive Director. The Group Executive Director and Chief Operating Officer, NNPC Downstream, Mr. Henry Ikemobi, comes to the position with broad-based skills and diverse cross-functional work experience in the global oil and gas industry spanning over 20 years in project management, manufacturing, sales and marketing, supply chain management, strategy and business planning, business development, re-engineering, and general management. In the language that every man on the street understands, he is saddled with the responsibility of ensuring that there is enough fuel to go around. And I guess that means one of his KPIs is ensuring that there are no fuel queues. Right, Mr. Obi? Henry Obi joins me on View from the Top today, and I want to thank him. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And I want to thank you for joining us. Here's a brief biography of my guest before our conversation. Henry Ikemefuna Obi received a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka in 1986, and an MBA from the University of Bradford, United Kingdom in 1993. He's an alumnus of INSEAD France and the Lagos Business School. Henry Obi had worked in Mobil Oil Nigeria from 1994 to 2015, rising from the position of project engineer to executive director. He was executive director of operations from 2008 to 2013 and executive director retail from 2013 until he was invited to join the NNPC group. The fuel queues look like a nightmare that we've all woken up from, but we keep pinching ourselves. Is this for real? What has been the secret?
A lot of the work started, sometime last year. And I think the major shift was when we moved the price from 87 naira per liter. This is for PMS now, to 145 naira per liter as a ceiling. So that restored some sanity in the marketplace, reduced the amount of diversions we were having across the borders, and reduced hoarding. So we then ultimately had more volumes for the Nigerian citizens. But historically, the market always had shortages or shortfalls in supply at the end of the year. So we looked ahead. We knew that this is one clear objective we had in 2016 was to ensure we didn't have a repeat of what had happened for most of 2016, and more so, the last quarters of every other year for up to 8 years preceding 2016. So as a corporation, we prepared ourselves for year end. So we locked in our volumes, made sure we had the barrels, we had all the supplies we would need for the period. We went to the market, we interfaced with the marketers, we engaged them, because ultimately they own the distribution outlets, most of it. So we had to work with various stakeholders, the unions and everybody, just to ensure that when those months came, we had little or no disruptions in terms of the entire operations that support the downstream fuel supply chain.
Is PMS still appropriately priced at 140?
Well, we have a price ceiling today that is 145 naira per liter. And PPPRA is the pricing agency, so, is the right authority to speak on pricing. But, what I would always say about pricing is typical of the downstream sector. It's important for players to always take a long-term view of the market. It's not traditional. It's not the way the sector works to always take a look at the snapshot of what happens within the sector. So it's important for us to begin to take a longer-term view of how the various dynamics work, including pricing, for instance. I mean, it's clear that ultimately we still need to get our pricing right in terms of, the methodology or whatever policies that support it. And a lot of work is going into that, okay, borrowing from the minister's speech, which I read at the forum. He clearly said, that the modulation policy is something that, the ministry and all the agencies that report into the ministry are going back to drawing board to ensure that we get it right and we implement something that ensures that consumers enjoy windfalls when prices go down and have limited exposure when prices go up. So that's the thrust. That's the work we're doing going forward.
In theory, government has removed subsidy, but in reality, from all indications, there's a subsidy somewhere that is being warehoused. There's a hole in the book somewhere, is there not?
Well, I mean, the first indication of the market not being as attractive as it at some times of the year has been is that the private operators are not importing at the moment. So they've walked away from the market, even though CBN has provided more than enough dollars to support the scheme, the intervention scheme, and the volumes are available in the international market, but marketers are still not importing. So that suggests that from a P&L standpoint, they don't see the profits that they would or should be making. What that has done, of course, is leave Nigeria almost bare. So rather than see that happen, and one of NNPC's key mandates for the group managing director is to ensure that we secure Nigeria's energy needs, which is why NNPC has stepped in to ensure we don't have a gap in supplies. So as I speak now, we're doing almost 100% of the supplies into the market through a combination of our local refining production and imports to supplement. But ultimately, in an ideal situation, we would have both the private sector and NNPC contribute to the pool.